Look at the skyline of Jerusalem, and your eyes are immediately drawn to it. The Dome of the Rock is one of the most recognizable structures on the planet, but its origins pose a strange question. Why build something this massive and this permanent in a city that had just spent centuries being violently traded between rival empires? To answer that, we have to rewind to the year 691 CE. The Umayyad Caliph Abd al-Malik had recently taken power, and his decision to break ground on this site was driven by calculated geopolitical strategy. The newly established Islamic Empire was expanding rapidly, pushing into territories previously controlled by the Byzantines and Sasanians. The Caliph needed a permanent, physical statement in stone that showed his new subjects exactly who was in charge now. The resulting structure was built for a specific earthly purpose. It was engineered from the ground up to be a deliberate instrument of imperial power, broadcasting Islamic dominance over a fiercely contested region. You can see this rivalry baked directly into the building's floor plan. The Umayyads chose a circular design, used in Christian shrines, to directly challenge and overshadow the magnificence of the nearby Church of the Holy Sepulchre. On the outside, the architects replaced the traditional Byzantine style of depicting human figures with something entirely new. They wrapped the octagonal arcade in intricate geometric patterns and bands of continuous Arabic script. Inside, the message was even more direct. The artists embedded depictions of royal crowns and jewels, specifically mimicking the regalia of the defeated Byzantine and Sasanian empires right into the mosaics. These were permanent, highly visible spoils of war. Every stone and mosaic tile served a dual purpose: to visually conquer the empire's political competitors and to rewrite the religious identity of Jerusalem in the image of its new rulers.
But political statements eventually fade. What kept the building relevant for 14 centuries lies directly in its center: a massive, raw, exposed foundation rock. This stone anchors the site in deep Islamic theology through the story of the Isra and Miraj. According to foundational Islamic belief, the Prophet Muhammad undertook a miraculous night journey from Mecca, arriving at this exact geographic spot. From this rough stone surface, he ascended into the heavens to receive divine instructions. Because of this single event, the site was permanently cemented in the Muslim consciousness. It became the literal focal point where the physical earth and the divine heavens perfectly intersect. The Prophet's journey gave the location a new spiritual gravity. The stone walls now served as a bridge between the physical earth and the divine. This space was already pulling massive religious weight long before the Muslims arrived. The site's immense sanctity was actually inherited from deep, pre-existing Jewish and Christian traditions that revered the exact same ground. This timeline chart maps how the historical eras of Jewish, Christian, and Islamic reverence stacked directly over this specific geographic space. Early Islamic scholars mapped the sacred histories of pre-Islamic prophets, Ibrahim, Musa, Dawood, and Suleiman, straight onto this single footprint. By the era of Salah al-Din and the aftermath of the Crusades, the psychological atmosphere shifted. The site became a sacred trust, demanding active physical defense from the surrounding community. The enduring power of the dome doesn't come from any single narrative. It survives because it has an unparalleled capacity to hold the absolute truths and collective memories of multiple civilizations simultaneously. That need to physically defend the site reached a boiling point in the early 20th century. A rising existential threat from Zionist movements brought massive external pressure onto the compound. The tensions snapped during the 1929 Wailing Wall disturbances. Amidst the violence and displacement, the sanctuary became the central symbol of Palestinian nationalism, anchoring the political survival of the people to the stone of the mosque. The Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, Hajj Amin al-Husseini, capitalized on this shift. He strategically framed defense of the Al-Aqsa compound as a unifying national cause, one that crossed religious lines and heavily included Christian Palestinians in the struggle. During this modern crucible, the physical integrity of the dome became indistinguishable from the survival of the sovereign Palestinian nation itself. We saw the visceral reality of this connection erupt in September 2000. Ariel Sharon, then the leader of Israel's opposition, entered the compound in a move universally viewed by Palestinians as an aggressive assertion of foreign sovereignty over their sacred space. This specific intrusion acted as an immediate flashpoint. It triggered the Second Intifada, instantly reigniting raw, violent conflict over the control of the holy site. The protests were driven by a single, unifying rallying cry echoing through the streets, a literal, vocalized willingness to sacrifice their blood and their souls to protect the site's integrity. Today, every encroachment into the sanctuary feels like a direct existential threat to the physical bodies and territories of the Palestinian people. The survival of the sanctuary is the survival of the nation. Despite the occupation, the compound remains a vital center of daily life, community resilience, and prayer. It is a quiet, enduring space that continues to define the daily rhythm of Jerusalem. The Dome of the Rock stands entirely unique in human history. It occupies the exact crossroads of ancient imperial power, divine Abrahamic faith, and modern national identity. Which leaves us with a heavy question to consider. What happens to a society when its entire history, highest spiritual beliefs, and existential survival are anchored to a single contested plot of land?